Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGeek webinar series, our endeavor to impart techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we have initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. The topic of today's session is Domains of ISO 27001 Information Security Standard. Our guest speaker today is Mr. Shanmuga Sankaran, Chief Nixer, FixNix InfoSec Solutions Private Limited. Shan is the Chief Nixer of FixNix India Private Limited, new breed startup company in the pursuit of redefining security world. He is a certified Chief Information Security Officer and an alma mater of IIIT with Masters in Technology. He has worked in Microsoft and IBM with 10 years of experience in various information security domains. Chief Nixer Shan has many accolades, endorsements, accomplishments, and honor for his service to the project management and information security community in his past organization. For his living, he next security Satans through an information security management system, helping small, medium business houses across the globe. So without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker. Over to you, Shan.
Thanks a lot, Mohini. Very good afternoon to everybody. So, hope everybody is able to see the screen. 10 good things for SMEs. So today I am going to talk about ISO 27001 in the aspect of small and medium enterprises, how it is going to benefit and what are the different domains, what we need to do with respect to ISO 27001. So with respect to the 10 good benefits what we can achieve out of ISO standard, let's see that overview first instead of directly getting into the list of domains and controls of ISO 27001. So this is a PDF what you can go download from International Organization for Standardization, ISO.org. So where they are talking about the benefits of the ISO standards. So how ISO standards will bring benefits to small and medium enterprises particularly. So I'm moving to slide 2. So ISO standards on small businesses. So in short, ISO standard can help small and medium enterprises compete with bigger businesses. That's the whole agenda of it. So where a big organization don't need to really go market about their brand. But small organizations, when they don't have a level playing field to compete with the bigger organizations, so they need to really kind of aggressively fight to get that space. So wherein we can really use this ISO standards as a tool to compete with the big organizations. So this is a key to unlock the future opportunities. I'm moving to slide 2. So here you will be able to see 10 good things ISO standards can do for SMEs. So what are the 10 different good things SMEs can derive out of ISO standards? So ISO standards can help give us level playing field with bigger enterprises. So when there is a big organization who is providing information security services, and I am a small information security services organization, and I am ISO 27001 certified. So when we are competing with each other to go bid for a new contract, tender from a government organization, when both of us have ISO 27000 certified, we are on par with each other because our level playing field is ISO 27001 certification, where both of us are claiming that our internal processes and controls material of the number of employees whoever we have. So we are having the standards and processes internally implemented in our organization. So whatever services we are going to get out of the client is going to really help. So then comes this opening up of the export market for our products and services. So these ISO standards in general, not necessarily 27001. ISO standard like 9001, 14001, and there are 19,000 plus standards by ISO body, which usually helps the small and medium enterprises open up export markets. And even it helps us discover best business practices. And we have a lot of business operations efficiency which we can drive out of standards. And keeping all of this aside, we will be able to add credibility and confidence to our customers by implementing these standards. And it opens up new business opportunities and sales. It gives us the competitive edge. It helps us make our brand name internationally recognized. It helps our company grow. And we can use the common language across the industry sector to speak with each other. That's the biggest benefit. So there are different countries who have kind of achieved benefit out of this. So probably different countries enterprises talking about the different points, the 7 different benefits, whatever we spoke now. Here Canada talking about standards, helping them compete with a level playing field with bigger enterprises, some small and medium enterprise. And here Sweden talking about opening up of the export market for the products and services. And here Italy is talking about how standards are helping them discover best business practices. And then Austria is talking about efficiency on business operations. And Singapore, Union Services Private Limited in Singapore is able to share their experience, how it is able to add credibility and confidence for their customers. And Kenya, mostly industries in India, Kenya is talking about how standards help them open up new business opportunities and scale. NC Fire Protection out of United Kingdom is talking about how standards gave them the edge, competitive edge. And Avanzare out of Spain is talking about how their brand name got internationally recognized after they got the ISO certification. Brazil, there is a story about how standards help them grow the company. Somebody from New Zealand talking about how standards enabled them to have a common language to be used across an industry sector. So these are some interesting materials available in the ISO website, not just necessarily 9001. There are whole sort of materials available for 27001, 14001, and a lot of different standards available here. So even ISO body also have kept themselves ahead of the latest social media adoption, and they are also available on Twitter and Facebook. So you can reach out to the ISO body through Twitter and Facebook by appropriate handles. So without further delay, I will get into ISO 27001 now. Here we will be able to see what is ISO 27001. ISO 27001 is nothing but a kind of a standard which helps the organization with a list of requirements so that they will be able to establish a information security management system. So this set of requirements will help the organization to really establish, implement, operate, monitor, review, maintain, and improve the information security management system. So what it takes to establish an information security management system? It is a set of security controls. Basically, we need to define and make sure that and select appropriate security controls, whatever is necessary for the organization, need to be applied. So how ISO 27001 helps different organizations? It is used within organization to formulate security requirements. It is used within organization as a way to ensure that security risks are cost effectively managed. It is used for multiple different purposes, for complying with respect to different regulations, for complying with respect to different directives, standards, procedures, and a lot of different things. So this is from BSI. What BSI is saying about information security management system. So information security management system. So this is ISO 27001 is the one standard where we can go certify the organization against. So there are a lot of different standards by ISO body where we won't be able to take certification. So there are only certain set of standards which are certifiable, where some external certifying body can come and audit, say that okay, you are maintaining all the controls. There are a lot of other standards which are like best practices, so which may not be certifiable. So when we have ISO 27001 implemented, so we can go for a certification by an external body, certifying body. And what are the real benefits of a certification? ISO 27001 certification. It demonstrates independent assurance of all internal controls that we are meeting corporate governance and business continuity requirements. So there are 11 different domains, so and 133 different controls in ISO 27001 standard. So when we are saying that okay, we have ISO 27001 implemented and certified by an external certifying body, it demonstrates that okay, tomorrow there is a disaster occurring. Okay, I can say that okay, ISO 27001 certification, make sure that there is some disaster recovery processes in place. So I am operating out of Chennai. So when I'm a certified company, I should be always having a plan B whenever there is some disaster occurring in the main headquarters site. And the plan B should be such a way that I should be able to operate my core operations, core business processes from the next minute itself after the disaster. That's called disaster recovery plan and business continuity. So there are certain set of controls in the organization which mandates to comply to it. So when we are saying that we are certified with respect to ISO 27001, it makes sure that we have the capability to continue operate our business and have a disaster recovery plan. So it provides a competitive edge by meeting contractual requirements and demonstrating to our customers that the security of their information is paramount. So end of the day, what exactly we are trying to make sure by putting this information security management system and ISO 27001 is helping the customer hand over their data, personal identifiable information to a safe hands. That's what we are trying to assure the customers. So the information security management system ensures that there are right people, process, technology, procedures are in place to protect information assets. Usually this people, process, technology is called as a triad, where people use this people, process, technology to assure that confidentiality, integrity, availability is there, CAA. CAA is another important triad available in information security world. So this is again another executive summary about ISO 27001 standard. How much it will cost to get information security management system implemented? How are we measuring incidents? How we will be able to restore the critical information? So there are so many different sort of checklists what we need to have in the organization before we decide that we should go for ISO 27001 standard. So this again comes from BSI. It is a reputed body who helps the organization acquire ISO 27001 certification. So there is a research conducted by University Rotterdam School of Management in 2011. That research shows that 99% of the organizations meet their information security objectives by using ISO 27001. And independent certification by an external certifying body kind of really improves their customer satisfaction, also sales and competitive position. For example, right now we have helped some of the e-commerce companies to achieve ISO 27001 certification. So their competitive positioning with respect to other e-commerce companies who don't have the ISO 27001 certification is always a little ahead and edge over. So ISO 27001 certification increases the opportunity for tenders and improve the protection of our company information. I'm moving to the next slide. So the benefits of ISO 27001, I think we have spoken a lot about ISO 27001 benefits. Let's get to some basics now. So we have also seen that what exactly is this standard about. It's about putting set of controls. Let's see what are the set of controls now. So there are different sort of domains like human resources, asset management, security organization management, physical and environmental security, communications and operations management, access control, systems development and maintenance, incident management, business continuity management, compliance management, security policy management, security organization management. These are the different domains available across ISO 27001 standard. If you see, there are close to 11 important domains, and under which there are 133 controls. So let's see what are the different standards available in this ISO 27001 family. ISO 27000 family. So here in the slide you will be able to see ISO 27001 standard is about requirements. The list of requirements we need to have in the company to have an information security management system. There are set of other standards which was again put together by ISO body, which is again about which is again about ISO 27001 itself. There is some problem. Okay. So ISO 27002 is nothing but a standard which helps the organization, saying that these are the best practices organizations should follow. And the 27001 talks about, okay, these are the guidelines an ISO implementation auditor or a surveillance auditor should follow. So ISO 27004 is talking about this is how we should measure the metrics of ISO 27000 family of standards. And 27003 is talking about implementation, how we should do implementation of those information security management systems. And 27005 is nothing but a derivative of BS 7798, where it talks about the risk management, how it is carried out well. And 27006 is talking about how the certification scheme should be managed, how we should apply for a certification based on ISO 27001 standard, and how we should maintain, how the whole of the certification schema should be managed. So 27000 is nothing but an overview and vocabulary. So there is whole sort of family of standards in the ISO 27001 itself, which is always associated to ISO 27001. So here we saw some of the domains in our earlier slides. Here we are seeing what are the different controls under those domains. So for example, so ISO 27002 helps the organization to follow best practices. So 27001 and 2 is very much associated hand in hand. So now here we are seeing asset management. Let's try to go into the details of the asset management domain. So in a infrastructure, let me take an example. So we have an IT company who wants to claim that they want to go for a ISO 27001 kind of information security management system implementation and followed by a certification. Ideally speaking, what they need to do is, first they should put the policies together for the organization. The policy should comprise a lot of standards, lot of guidelines, lot of procedures according to the organization's convenience. Once after they got the policies, list of policies according to their organization's different assets. They need to put an organization, information security organization. They need to establish who is the information security manager, who is the information security head, who is the chief information security officer, and they need to establish how they are going to liaison with the rest of the divisions inside the company. They need to establish the structure and reporting. And once after this policy and organization is established, then we need to figure out how the assets are being managed. We need to take an inventory of all of the assets of the organization, saying that, okay, my organization have this many assets, IT assets, software assets, other set of assets. And this is the different classification level of the organization. For example, some assets are falling under highly confidential. Some assets are falling under low confidential assets. So, and also we need to determine who exactly is the owner of different assets, which team is owning, which person under the team is owning that particular asset. So we need to completely form a detailed inventory based on the classification, ownership, and different fields according to different the classification type of the asset. We need to collect a lot of information to put that inventory together. Once after all these three in place, we need to figure out how we are able to establish human resources security. In human resources security, we need to figure out, okay, before the employee joining the company, what are the different controls we are taking care? So whether we are doing background check, whether we have established the roles and responsibilities for the particular person, whoever is going to join. And once after the employee is on board, whether we have given awareness and training and education session, what are the policies and processes he should follow with respect to information security, what are the applications he will be able to access from the premises of the office, and what are the applications he will be able to access from home, whether he is really eligible to connect from home, etc. And even when he is leaving the company, so what are the process he should follow, how he should give back the access whatever he got, and how he should transfer the list of activities whatever he was carrying out to another person. And then he kind of even gives back the assets whatever he owned to the appropriate department. So these are set of controls. There are set of 9 different controls under HR security. So once after HR security, what is the thing we are going to do is determined. We should think about physical and environmental security. In physical and environmental security, there are certain aspects like physical access. Okay, in the company enterprise, there may be different rooms. The IT company may be having a data center, maybe having a development cubicle, maybe having certain set of cubicles assigned for testing team, maybe certain set of cubicles assigned for architectural team. So when there are different cubicles assigned for different set of teams, different access policies for those different regions should be determined. And where we should be able to clearly say that, okay, the guy who is involved in architecture need not have access for data center. Only the system admin or the network admin team is going to have access for data center. And the guy who are working in data center need not have access for the rest of the places inside the company. The architectural team need to have access for a development team's cubicle. The development team in turn does not need to have access for the architect team's cubicle. So the physical access for different areas need to be determined and a policy need to be put, and also appropriate controls need to be implemented. That's when the physical and the environmental security domain is assumed to be completed. So along with the physical access, there are a set of other controls. How the air conditioning, how the fire and water safety is taken care, how the power supply backup is designed. So these are other aspects of physical and environmental security. In case of any disaster, how we are going to kind of bring back the company to operation, or how the employees are safeguarded, and along with the customer data, and how we will be able to make sure that operations can be brought back immediately without any delay further. So once after this is determined, so we can think about our next domain called communications and operations management. In communications and operations management, it is about how the backups for different machines are taken, how logging of different activities are done and alerting is done. For example, so we may be using antivirus software across all of the endpoints, desktops in the organization. How that antivirus console, which is monitoring all of the desktops antivirus installations, is getting the latest antivirus updates, definitions, and whether this antivirus console is really working properly and alerting us whenever there is some desktop is impacted and not kind of took the update definitions, antivirus update definitions, whatever that server console have sent to that machine, and it is trying to create some problem, whether that antivirus console is capable to alert. So this is nothing but a one control, and there are controls like patching. So how are we making sure that different softwares and different hardware, different operating systems, different network devices, different kind of things we use in the enterprise infrastructure are patched appropriately with respect to latest vulnerability information coming from the technology vendor. So we may be thinking that only operating systems comes with patches. So it's not true. It's a myth. So even Cisco network devices, whatever we may have bought some 4 years before, might be having latest definitions, the latest updates coming from Cisco itself. Now, all the technology vendors, so always comes up with a list of vulnerabilities, security vulnerabilities on their different software or hardware and different systems, whatever they have manufactured, and they release patch also. So how are we making sure that the organization is patching those latest vulnerabilities? We need to have a process, and we need to have a monitoring process as well, and how the configuration of different machines are taken care, and how archives are managed. These and all comes under communications and operations management domain. And when it comes to access control, the next important domain, so how physical access is managed, how network access is managed, how systems access is managed. Do we have a process for applications access? Do we have a control for functions access? Do we have a procedure for data access? So these are the different things, questions what we should ask our own self, and implement appropriate controls, procedures, processes in turn to make sure that we are following all of the controls falling under this access control domain. Why it is important? Let's see that. So for example, we are taking again the same example of the IT company. The IT company may be developing some product for their customers. So they have got a big outsourced product development order from United States, and they are working towards it. So if they don't have kind of a data security control implemented in all of those machines where they are developing the product for the customer, so there is always scope for the leakage of that intellectual property from those machines. There are certain, let us assume, there are certain set of developers working as part of that outsourced product development order for the IT company. So they are already on the pipeline of leaving the company. Process of joining another competitor who is operating on the same area. So when there is no real control put in place in all of those machines, there is no data loss prevention or encryption solution, kind of the information security solution implemented in those machines. You think about the situation that a developer able to share the code to his own Dropbox folder from the machine wherever he is working on, and once after he joins a new company, he is able to download the same set of code, all set of code, whatever he has developed in that old company, that the old company's intellectual property, without any hindrance, he is able to reuse it. And even the second company, if they are wise enough and if they are operating on the same space, it gives them a big edge. And in turn, the old company who were relieved that employee is in a big loss of intellectual property. Probably they are not even aware that the employee who were left has taken the code along with it. Lot of companies these days, whenever we go talk to different IT companies, they say that they don't need information security management system. Their operations are small. They say that we are a game development company. We have developed a game which is selling for 1 crore, and we have only that game available in Apple Marketplace. What is the need for information security management system? What is the need for information security control for us? And when we ask in turn, okay, how are you making sure that your code is protected? They say that they have trust on their employees. So as a technology company, we cannot say that having trust on our own employees is the only way we are making sure that our data and our customer data is protected. No, that's not the way we should be saying it. We should always go extra mile, see what are the different security solutions we will be able to put in place, and help the customer hand over the data to us, and have their assumption that it is in safe hands. So we should, if you have hesitation to invest on proprietary solutions, there are always open source solutions, security solutions available which can help the organization. For example, there is something called OpenDLP, data loss prevention, which can help the organization protect their data being lost to somebody outside the network. So when they have that OpenDLP kind of solution put across the organization, they will be able to monitor, okay, different important kind of extensions, files which is going out of the network. And next comes to software development. So when a company is involved in software development or systems development, so there may be different phases we may be handling: requirements, design, develop, and then test, and then implement, and then maintenance and support. Different phases. What are the different controls we need to put in place on the different phases of software development or systems development? Also comes under ISO 27001 and 2 as well. So how are we managing incident management? So that's a very important domain we need to be determining and kind of carving out clearly as a separate process for the organization, because so there can be different sort of security incidents happen to the institution. For example, we may be aware of the LinkedIn attack, where a huge set of thousands of LinkedIn usernames and passwords got leaked. So how the organization like LinkedIn handled the situation? Whether they went under the carpet saying that there was no attack, and they kept quiet, silent, saying that, that this is wrong information, or they came out very clear. Probably we may have seen in the newspapers and all of the news articles saying that they have accepted that they got attacked, and they said they are working on it. Then immediately after they came across this incident, and post taking back the controls of all of those systems which got attacked, they said they are going to work with those set of customers who have got attacked and helping them reset their passwords. So they have put a kind of strategy, and they came out very clean to the public saying that they got attacked. They have put a plan now through which they are going to mitigate the situation. The situation mitigation is very important in incident management. And post which, after a postmortem, they said, these are the set of actions we have taken now. So now going forward, this is how we are going to make sure our systems are protected, so that nobody will be able to get into our systems. Nobody would be able to predict the way we are generating the passwords. So these are the different things they have said after that incident. So similar to the security incident happened for LinkedIn, there are always security incidents we see in newspapers. So what, for example, even there was an attack recently happened in Pune and Bangalore where the Indian payment gateways, couple of Indian payment gateway companies got attacked, where in turn there were no press releases from the particular companies. And also post the incident, even though there were monetary losses for one of the Gulf banks, there was no clear-cut communication. What is it, how they are working out the compensation or mitigation for those customers who were got impacted. There is no clear communication after that incident. That's a very bad way of handling security incidents. So let us see, after security incident management, there are a set of things. We should talk about business continuity. So the business continuity is a thing where we should define how organization would be able to recover from any natural disaster in case if it is occurring in that particular premises where the company is operating, and how the organization is resilient against different things, the calamities which may occur. So there are different ways we can do this business continuity domain. So for example, while I was working in IBM, so we used to conduct tabletop exercises for different divisions. So in case the Bangalore operation, there is some big political hustle happening in Bangalore, how the operations for those set of customers who are taking service from IBM Bangalore is able to get their operations sustained by set of teams operating in IBM Hyderabad, how that can be managed. So we used to conduct tabletop exercises through which we make sure this is how the disaster recovery can be managed. I'm going to next slide. So here we'll be able to see the exact domains of ISO 27001 itself. So 27002 is nothing but the best practices. 27000 is the where it is the listing of the requirements. So we saw policy, we saw how organizations should be managed for information security, asset management, human resource security, physical and environmental security, communications and operations management, access control, information systems acquisitions, development and maintenance, incident management, business continuity management. Keeping all of this 10 domains aside, there is another domain called compliance. How organizations should identify and comply to different contractual obligations and the legal and regulatory requirements of the land. So these are the 11 different domains of ISO 27001 standard. So you can see security policy, human resource security. So the 11 different domains have 133 different controls, and this 133 controls are put under 39 control objectives. So why there is a need for control? Every domain has certain set of objectives. Those objectives achieved through certain requirements. Those requirements are called as controls. Let's see information security policy. I think we have seen it before, but we'll see it again with a pictorial depiction. This presentation is prepared with the help of materials coming from STQC, Software Testing and Quality Control Organization of Government of India, who also conducts a lot of trainings on information security auditing and information security lead auditor and awareness training. It's a very reputed body. So information security policy, what is the objective of this particular domain? Organization of information security. So A5 is the domain. Here we saw the different domains. A5 is the domain called security policy. And A6 is another domain called as organization of information security. Security policy, organization of information security. So when we see this first domain, organization of information security, what it is doing is it's talking about security policy. The policy should help the management to put directions and support what is that to be done for information security. Basically, it is about whether the organization is having an information security policy or not, and how often this policy is going to be reviewed. Next comes organization of information security. This is talking about whether the organization has defined who is going to be managing the information security, or who are the different internal third parties of the organization, and whether the organization has got any third party agreements done, kind of examples. It has two different controls. Internal organization, how it is managed for internal organization, how it is managed for external parties. Asset management. Asset management we have already seen. So how the assets responsibility can be determined, who is responsible for different assets, and different classification, as I mentioned, what is highly confidential, what is top secret, what is restricted, what is public. These kind of different determinations need to be made under asset management. These are two different control objectives of asset management domain. Then comes human resources security. This is a domain. This is the fourth domain, where it has three different control objectives. The control objectives are, what are the things we should take care before employing people to the organization, and what are the things we should take care during the employment, and what are the things we should take care while the employees leaving the organization, either being terminated or leaving voluntarily. This human resources security domain covers employers, contractors, third party users, all three different sort of direct and indirect employees of the human resources of the organization. Next comes the physical and environmental security. This particular domain has two objectives, not two objectives, only two objectives. So secure area, how are we determining set of controls to protect the secure areas of the company, and how the different machine security is taken care. For example, our company may be having a policy called bring your own device, where employees are allowed to bring their own smartphones and connect to the network. And for example, they may be using smartphones to access the company mail as well. So how those equipment security is taken care when that is also having a corporate liability. Whether those devices, whatever they are bringing on their personal account to connect to the corporate infrastructure, is having appropriate encryption solution. This is a control which we can put in place so that whenever there is a loss of those devices, at least make sure that we can wipe out those devices, or those devices will become redundant without that guy who stole that particular device may not be able to crack the information underneath that encrypted disk. It can be a iPhone, it can be anything, it can be a BlackBerry, it can be a laptop. Whether we have put appropriate encryption solution or appropriate facility to remotely wipe, so that the information whatever we have stored or accessed as part of the corporate network will become redundant when it reaches wrong hands. Okay, this is the domain which has multiple objectives. It has total 10 objectives. Okay. I am under the page called Communications and Operations Management, where it is talking about the list of control objectives of this particular domain. So this domain has 10 objectives. let us see what are those objectives. So how the communications and operations management need to be managed inside the organization. Okay, whenever we engage with any third parties, so we usually work with a lot of third parties who deliver a lot of services to the organization. We work with courier services, we work with contracting bodies, we work with staff augmentation firms, we work with different whole sort of people. And all of these third parties who are delivering services to the organization, how they are being engaged and managed with respect to information security. So whether the different things, whatever we are handling with them, are handled appropriately with the right information security process, and whether the company have put operational procedures and responsibilities or not. And whenever we develop a new system, how are we planning? How the new system is onboarded to the corporate infrastructure? These three different objectives we say. And next to it, how the company is protected against malicious and mobile code, how backup is managed, how network security is managed, how external media and different other sort of media devices are handled. For example, USB. Do we have a policy to control USB access inside the organization? I am on the next slide where it is talking about A10.8. So how information is exchanged between the organization and the outside infrastructure. Or who is the ISP we are using? What is that kind of technology control that ISP has put in place so that somebody is not tapping into our network? And whether the organization is using any electronic commerce, e-commerce services, whether those e-commerce services are appropriately secured, and how the organization is having right controls to monitor. These are the set of communications and operations management objectives. So I'm in a slide where it is saying that conforming to all of these different controls is nothing but a small kind of effort to gather more trust from our customers. It's a matter of trust. We are in a very complex world. We may be conforming to so many different things. All of these different things, whatever we are conforming, is a small matter of trust to gather from our customers. There may be attacks happening even after we get qualified for PCI DSS, ISO 27001. It's not really assumed that we have the foolproof security once after we have this kind of controls. It is an effort to make sure that whatever attacks happen against the organization, to make it more difficult so that less people will be trying to take that route. So there are a set of control objectives under access control domain. Let us see what is the requirement for access. Basically, who exactly may be needing different accesses for different assets in the organization. For example, there may be payroll application. The admin view of the payroll application access need to be provisioned only for the HR manager or probably the CEO and the CFO. Not other folks inside the organization need to have the admin view where all the employees' salary can be viewed. So that's one simple example how we can explain how the access need to be provisioned for different business systems. Access management. How the new user access is provisioned when a new employee is joining, how the email ID is being provisioned, what is the process we are following, how the password need to be set, how the employee is able to get access for the rest of the assets of the organization, to access the intranet, access the repository, process repository, to access the code base of the product what the company is developing. and whether we have put the list of responsibilities for the users before they get access. Before the user gets access, whether we are telling them that okay, they should follow this kind of sensitive set of due diligence so that they won't track of this code or sensitive information, whatever they are handling as part of their job, day job with the enterprise. How network access control be defined comes under access control domain. How optimum access control should be determined. For example, whether the operating system should have a encryption solution default and the operating access should be provisioned only on encrypting the whole disk. These kind of policy decision and technology decision need to be taken by the heads, and it needs to be documented appropriately while information security management system or while getting the organization certified. So a lot of organizations may be already following different sort of things. Only thing is they may not be probably have documented this saying that I have this set of controls. I have set of probably operating system access controls followed by this way. So they may not have documented. They may be doing it very tribally without any documentation. So what is the advantage of documenting it? Whenever there is even employee churn, whenever there are employees of the organization, still helps them to follow and make sure that whenever there is some people coming to the organization, they will be able to appreciate the kind of diligent work what we have done. And mobile computing and teleworking, how employees are allowed to access the company infrastructure when they are teleworking, whether we have a policy. How enterprise infrastructure is allowed to be accessed from mobile devices. So to the next domain, information systems acquisitions, development and maintenance. So whether we have put cryptographic controls, how are we defining requirements for new information systems being developed? How are we processing information in our applications? Whatever applications we are designing for our own purpose or even for the customers per se, how are we defining the architectural designs, the information processing capabilities of those applications? So how those system files are architected for the security, and what are the different security aspects we have taken care in the development and support processes. And the technical vulnerability management is nothing but the patch management process what we have spoke earlier. Information security incident management is the next domain. It has two objectives. How the organization is reporting security events and weakness, how they are documenting that stuff, how the management is kept aware of the documentation, whether there is any process, methodology, technology, any solution which is helping the organization's management, the CEO, CTO, CIO to be aware, okay, there is a virus attack happened in one of the developer's machine or one of the sales case machine. How this is going to impact the organization? Probably the CEO who is managing 120 people may not be thinking that the attack, virus attack on the sales head's machine may be impacting the organization. But end of the day, it is impacting. When that if that organization's sales head's machine, the virus attack was designed and purportedly done by a competitive company to steal the data, whatever that sales head is handling, it will impact. Whatever the sales lead pipeline that the sales head is handling for the enterprise, if it lands on the competitor's hand, certainly it will impact the organization. And keeping this reporting of information security events and weakness, how we have a management system to handle that particular incident and improve. So I have spoke about the LinkedIn example, right? How well they have handled and what is the improvement step they have taken post to that incident. These are different aspects which we need to determine as part of this information security incident management domain. Business continuity management. So this is the domain where organization will be able to determine how they will be able to recoup from any disasters. So timely resumption of business assets is very important to make sure that we are providing faultless service to our customers. So there are set of controls, 5 controls under business continuity management domain. We should have a planning framework for business continuity. Are we testing, maintaining and reassessing that the business continuity plans on timely manner? It's not useful if you put just a plan. Okay, I will recover when there is a situation in Chennai. If there is a political situation in Hyderabad, I will appropriately make my management team here in Chennai handle that particular set of business processes for those particular couple of days by having additional staff, or by asking those people who are working on that Chennai vicinity or Chennai enterprise to take the additional workload for the couple of days till that the situation in Hyderabad comes back to normal. It's not enough to just put this plan in paper. It's very important to test it in reality. Again, I would like to recall my experience with IBM here. IBM is one of the greatest wonderful companies where I have seen the processes of the company is driving the big mission. So IBM has close to 4 lakh employees working across the world. So if you see how those 4 lakh employee different divisions and are managed, it's a big mission, mesh of connections, interconnections. If you see how it is working very appropriately without any issue, any kind of legal hassles and gaps, it is because of the tightened processes and controls what they have put for different business activities. It's not just for information security, it's for everything. So in IBM, when it comes to business continuity management, even having that tabletop business continuity plan is meeting that business continuity management domains security control. We usually test by keeping the operations of one particular site down, saying that today Hyderabad may not be operating, and we will plan ahead in time so that we will give intimation to those guys saying that today all the operations need to be supported out of Chennai vicinity site, and how the Chennai team is able to take the additional workload and able to support the same customer. It may be a distributed team. So in case if it is not a distributed team and if the team is only sitting in Hyderabad, whether those guys who are working as part of the particular team is able to connect back from home and able to still support their customers. So this usually this kind of real-time tests help when there is real-time incidents, so that we'll be able to deal that with confidence. So we need to carry out risk assessment, we need to do business continuity management process. So these are the set of different aspects we need to take care with respect to business continuity management. And the last domain has 3 different controls, objectives. Complaints with legal requirements. So there may be set of legal requirements. I am operating out of Chennai. The land of law, Tamil Nadu, may have certain set of legal requirements. Probably I am operating out of Bangalore. I may be having certain set of legal, different set of legal requirements. So I am selling, I would like to start an e-commerce site where I would like to sell liquor. So whether the land of law is really allowing is the thing what I need to figure out first. It may be different for Karnataka, it may be different for Tamil Nadu, and it may be different for India, it may be different for US. So same law or same control working for particular region may not necessarily will be applicable for other region as well. So which we need to keep in mind and make sure that whether we are complying with respect to the legal requirements of the law of the land. And probably lot of sector or industry where our company is operating upon will also have certain requirements. So if I am an e-commerce company, or if I am a company who has payment card handling, data handling, so I need to abide to PCI DSS, Payment Card Industry Data Security Standards. I am a company who's handling healthcare data. I need to, and the provisioning services to US companies, I need to abide to HIPAA. So likewise, there are different standards, regulations for different industries which we need to keep in mind and comply to it. And finally, we need to consider how our information systems are audited regularly. These are the different things we should consider and help the organization follow all the controls. Okay, now I will try to answer the questions. I see a question from Madurai. Kumaran, what are the attack hacking experience beyond the ISO 27001 standard in recent days? See, having ISO 27000 standard is not going to assure you that you are protected from attacks. It is going to help you stay kind of prepared for that attack, where your organization is equipped that okay, they will be able to avoid attack or they will be prepared for attack. Having no standard, no control in the organization will make you very miserable. And mining this what? Do you think a standard can stop or prevent an attack? A standard cannot stop or prevent an attack. That's very simple. Message is very simple. So a standard can really help organization to mature so that they will be handle that attack in a better manner. That would be my take. Nandarajan Chellappa. Okay, my friend. From IBM. So is it mandatory for any organization to have IT policy in tune with ISO 27001? Is there any standard format available? So IT policy in tune with ISO 27001 is mandatory in case if the organization wants to get certified against ISO 27001. So if they don't have any mandate or plans to go for ISO 27001 certification, that is no mandate. But always it helps to follow the standard format for preparing our IT policies, IT security policies, so that we'll be able to deal situations in a matured manner. I think these are the 3 questions. Or if there are any questions, you can send it through that your small tab. Okay. I think I'm done with the questions. Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please pass your feedback to TechGeek. Thanks a lot. And Mohini, thanks a lot.
Mr. Shan for the presentation. We have some questions from our attendees. We have some questions from the attendees. I hope you are able to see them.
Yeah, okay. I will see the next question. Ganesh Parthasarathy, may I know what do you exactly mean by cryptographic controls? Ganesh from KPMG. So cryptographic controls. So cryptographic controls means, for example, when we are trying to say that we have the kind of a different kind of secure data of our customers handled on our premises, and make sure that we are following all of that. So we need to make sure that we have different cryptography solutions implemented in all of the machines. there are open source encryption solutions and cryptography solutions which help the organization to encrypt the data, whatever is stored in our premises. And in case if there is any loss of those devices, so these cryptographic controls or solutions make sure that nobody, the wrong person who is able to land upon this particular device may be able to crack the particular data. So that's the simple one-liner explanation of cryptographic control. If you want to write a note to me, you can go to my company site, Solutions. You can write a note to me, Ganesh. I will be able to help you better. Ravindra Joshi. What about privacy law 2011? So if you go for 27.1, see, if we go for 27.1, whether it is helping us to comply with privacy law 2011 or even IT Act, Information Technology Act of India, or even the European Union Data Protection Act. So there are so many set of different regulations for different countries and different standards, regulations for different industry sectors as well. So the way I see ISO 27001 is it's a super set of all of these things. The set of standards what we need to abide for ISO 27001 is very exhaustive. Or you always have different standard regulations where we can map those set of controls under some aspect, some domain, some objective of ISO 27001. That's how I see. So in fact, we will be able to map PCI DSS, HIPAA, any SOX or any sort of different regulations under some appropriate bucket of ISO 27001. That's how I see it. Hope I answered your queries, Ravindra Joshi, Ganesh, Partha, Rajan, Mainik, Kumaran. Monica, these are the list of questions I saw, and I think that's it. You guys can always reach out to me personally by finding out my personal information, and I will be very happy to handle any questions. And in fact, my company is into product governance, risk and compliance product, which is helping organizations to manage their policies and also monitor those policy implementations, and also along with IT controls monitoring. So there are two different aspects of governance, risk and compliance, GRC. So we help organizations monitor as well as monitor IT controls as well as process controls. So from your point, which is frame factor that determine ISO 27001 certification. Ganesh Partha again. So frame factor to determine ISO 27001 certification. So it is the real awareness of the employees. So there are ISO 27001 certifications which are sold for 27,001 rupees. Or even it can be achieved by going through a rigorous implementation, spending lakhs of rupees, and having some reputed auditing body come to your premises and audit yourself. So there are different kind of ways we can achieve ISO 27001 certification according to the management priority and budget. But end of the day, if the employees are made aware, okay, these are the different 11 domains what organization need to comply. These are different 133 controls we should be complying to. So that brings in huge amount of change in the way the company is operating. So employee awareness is one prime factor to determine ISO 27001 certification. Probably to speak practically, the list of documents and controls what you put together for an ISO 27001 certification may be an aspect. But if you can make sure your employees are made aware, that takes a long way. Good. Animesh Chaudhary, what are the procedure of IT hardware procurement in ISO? So Okay, there are different templates for different stuff, different controls. For example, hardware procurement. So these are the exhaustive list of controls what we can follow with respect to hardware procurement. For example, whether the vendor who is selling that hardware is going to provide us the support till the end of life cycle. So there are set of different questions what we can ask our own self and make sure that is documented as part of the policy or procedure we are putting. So I would be very happy to send across some templates and things. If you guys write to me, I will be able to send across some templates. And even keeping myself aside, if you guys are in need of something, you can go to appropriate LinkedIn groups. There are LinkedIn groups for ISO 27001. There are governance risk and compliance, GRC groups. GRC groups is another area where the GRC products of the GRC groups will be able to help you how different controls can be implemented. And even there are a lot of toolkits which will help you, your organization, to put all the procedures, processes and controls in a single shot according to your organization's preference. In fact, we have some modules in our own product which helps our organization to put these processes together. Okay, that's it. Are there any more questions? Mohini, if there are no more questions, we'll end the conversation here. I'll wait for a minute so that if there are anybody having any other questions, you can send it about.
Well, we have just one more question. It just came in now from Mr. Ravindra Joshi. Can you see it?
Yep. What is the template for asset codification? Can you share it? Sure. So, in fact, I have something across in my mission. So it may not be appropriate to open some asset codification template what I have with data still there. But if you write to me, I will be able to share those templates across, and I will be able to help you. So usually what it does is it talks about the different sort of assets. Even human resources is a form of asset in the organization. In case, what is the confidentiality of that particular asset? What is the kind of level of seriousness, value of that particular asset? So these are the set of things usually get mentioned as part of the asset template, asset register template. I'll write to you, Ravindra. You connect to me through TechGig itself. I'll write to you.
Well, those were the only questions we had.
Cool, I think we are done.
Yeah, we are done with the questions. Thank you so much for the session. Yep. I would also like to thank all our participants for their support in making this webinar a success. The recording of this session would be available on techgig.com by evening. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Bye, bye, bye.